of sky and earth, the inspiration of the arts, the miracle of every birth.
Enter, rejoice, and log in. Enter, rejoice, and log in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and log in. Enter, rejoice, and log in. Enter, rejoice, and log in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and log in.
I wasn't picking my nose, I was just The chalice is a symbol of our UU faith. If you have a chalice or a candle at home, it is time now to light it together. As we say the same words we say each week at our fellowship. We light this flame as a symbol of new life, enlightening our way as a symbol of the warmth in every human heart. May the lighting of this flame rekindle in us the inner light of hope, of peace, of love. May we share that light with all people.
Good morning. We are so glad to welcome you to the Fox Valley Unitarian Universalist Fellowship this morning, even as we gather from our own separate spaces. I am Mark Marnaka and have been a fellowship member since 1991, along with my partner of nearly 50 years, Suzanne. I have served as our board president, have taught RE, had been one of the former cadre of volunteer pianists, helped facilitate previous training retreats for lay ministers, have been a youth mentor for coming of age, as well as facilitating aspects of retreats for youth in that program, served on the personnel committee, and co-chaired the capital campaign for our first expansion from the Moose Lodge where we had been. Currently, I am in the choir and serve as a lay worship leader. Our family has celebrated weddings and dedications, as well as holding funeral services at the fellowship. I have provided summer worship services at the fellowship, as well as for several regional Unitarian Universalist fellowships, including Stevens Point, Manitowoc, Green Bay, Ripon, and Door County. We have seen much growth of energy, resources, and initiatives at the fellowship. It continues to be a strong beacon for spirituality and welcoming of diversity in our community. We have had a strong and ongoing history of ministry and staff who have kept the fellowship vital and energetic, as well as creative. If this is your first time visiting a fellowship service, I want to extend to you a special welcome. Our Director of Congregational Life, Marie Luna, would love to help you get connected here. Please feel free to send her an email. Her email address will be in the chat box or can be found on our website. It's time now to settle in, take a deep breath, become aware of your body wherever you are. Allow yourself to come into this time and space so we can be fully present together.
We are gathered together, even from a distance, and we are so grateful for this time to connect. Our call to gather is from our hymnal, number 541. It's entitled Winter Meditation by Denise Levertov. The bare trees have made up their seed bundles. They are ready now. The warm brown light pauses briefly, shrugs, and moves on. They are ready now to play dead for a while. I, human, have not as yet devised how to obtain such privilege. Their spring will find them rested. I and my kind battle a wakeful way to ours.
Good morning. It's time for our Wonder Box. We use the Wonder Box as a symbol to help us remember that it's important to be curious throughout our lives. As Unitarian Universalists, we're called to a free and responsible search for truth and meaning, or like we say in kids' language, we search for what's true. So this means that we're each responsible to search for those things, truth and meaning, and what they mean to each of us. So it's important to ask questions and to let those questions lead us. Sometimes we're led to more questions. Sometimes we get answers. But the more we learn that there is a lot more to learn. The search can take a whole lifetime, and it often does. So this is why it's important for us to practice in adults, role model the skills of being curious, of asking questions, of wondering. So I'm wondering if you have an idea about what's inside. If you'd like to take a guess, you can share your answer in the chat box. And it's always so much fun to see all the different answers that people come up with. Okay, are we ready to find out? Let's take a look. Ah, it's a blanket. Why is there a blanket in the Wonder Box? Well, today we're exploring spiritual practices, especially those that help us feel safe when things are scary or cold or just when things feel hard. Not long ago, we talked about spiritual practices in our elementary class. And we said that spirituality is a word that we can use to express the ways that we feel connected to everything. Some people call this feeling God. Some people call it the mystery, nature. Some people call it spirit, the universe, oneness. We might feel a connection to things like people or animals, or we might have a feeling about the importance of love. There are many names for this. And some people don't have any name for it at all. A spiritual practice is something that people do. It's an action to help us feel connected to everything. So some examples of spiritual practices are prayer, meditation, gratitude practice, chanting, breathing exercises, ceremonies, rituals. So what about this blanket? What does this have to do with spirituality and spiritual practices? Well, I got this blanket when all of the young people who were in our Being a Teen program, or BATS for short, got theirs. We all got one during the first year of COVID, when we all had to stay home as much as possible, and when we couldn't meet in person, we could not be together. So like a lot of people did, we met for the whole year on Zoom. And Zooming is really great for some things, but it is definitely not something that makes at least me feel warm or cozy. So we used our matching BATS blankets to wrap up in during the times that we met, the times that we could only see each other on a screen. Maybe a robot would enjoy it more, but it's not that great for people who are warm-blooded and who have beating hearts and that need to feel care and love. Later in the service, Reverend Christina is going to share about the Scandinavian practice of hygge. It seems as if this practice pays special attention to the little things, but it's the seemingly little things that are actually very important to the deepest parts of ourselves to that place of knowing and connection within each of us. An important part of practicing Hygge is to be together with the people that you love. Being with the people that we care about, being with people that we love, and for us, being together as fellowship family is much more important for our spiritual growth and growing in our hearts than any one thing that we can hear about or learn on a Sunday. Being together, being in community is the real classroom. Because here we can practice what we've discovered about truth and meaning and what they mean to us. We can grow our minds, our souls, our hearts here together. And so this blanket, I know, helped me feel more like all of us in bats were together. It reminded me of a time when it was more important than ever for my heart to feel warm and safe and to feel like I wasn't alone. Because we're not robots. We need one another. We are social animals, not lone wolves. I think kids know this, but as we grow older, it becomes easier to think that we can go it alone. It's the I don't need help, I can do it by myself attitude. But we really know that it's important to honor what poet Mary Oliver calls the soft animal of our body, to nourish itself and to grow in mind and spirit with one another, in our fellowship family, in community.
We as Unitarian Universalists strive to encourage a spiritual stance of abundance. We reject a scarcity mindset. We take time each week for this moment of practice to take stock of what we have, to cultivate peace when we need to ask for support, and to give with joy whatever we are able to offer. In a moment, we will sing the song, "From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live." This is the true meaning of community and our fellowship, to give and receive as we are able and as we need. Today's special collection is in that spirit. It's for the Minister's Discretionary Fund. This is a special fund that the fellowship keeps in order to support people in our circle of care who need some financial help. Many of you have been exceedingly generous during the pandemic to support this fund, and we have had a greater need to use it as well. We paid a phone bill for someone, got bus fare so someone could attend a funeral. We were able to pay for a car repair and some supplies for a family to support their child with special needs. We paid for meals to help a family when one among them was dying. Each of these, whether the amounts were small or large, were deeply appreciated. They were powerful symbols of the care that we can offer, and we are so glad that we are able. As one of the ministers who has responsibility for this fund, it is a joy to be able to offer support on behalf of this beloved community. If you are in need, please don't hesitate to reach out to me or to Minister Allie so that we can offer financial or emotional support. And if you are someone who is feeling stable and able to give, we ask that you do so in that same spirit of abundance. You can mail a check or write that check to the fellowship with MDF in the memo line. Or you can give online or via our text to give function on a smartphone. Please pay attention to the instructions on your screen so that the funds are properly attributed to the Minister's Discretionary Fund. Thank you. Your generosity is deeply appreciated.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
Look up Hygge on Instagram and you'll find 1.7 million posts on woolly socks and hot chocolate. Pinterest experienced a 285% spike on Hygge pins, and last year it was shortlisted as the Oxford Dictionary Word of the Year. What was once a Danish custom is now big in the US. Mike Viking is the founder of the Happiness Research Institute and the author of The Little Book of Hygge, a bestseller that was reprinted 3 times before its release and is published in 26 countries.
All right, Mike, tell me, what is Hygge?
Hygge is being consciously cozy, but it has also been described as the art of creating a nice atmosphere. It's been called the pursuit of everyday happiness. It's also been called socializing for introverts.
Okay.
But it's about being together with the people you love. It's about relaxation. It's about indulgence. It's about good food. It's about gratitude. It's about equality. All those things mixed together is Hygge.
Would you characterize Hygge as a lifestyle trend or a self-help?
Actually, neither. I mean, to us Danes, Hygge is part of our culture. It's part of our national DNA. Perhaps the same way that Americans see freedom as inherently American.
If you think Hygge just sounds like a trendy Scandinavian catch-all for all the things humans like in the dead of winter, comfort foods and ambiance, you're not wrong. But the Danes' conviction is singular. They burn more candles than anyone in Europe, and they eat a lot of candy per capita, all in pursuit of Hygge.
I think there is, savoring pleasures, indulgence is, I think, key in terms of Hygge, and perhaps also something sinful. I think also Hygge is taking a break from demands of healthy eating. So it is about cake, it is about candy, it is about hot chocolate, it is about alcohol. Some even might say it's about sinful pleasures.
Hygge is horrible for your health, conceivably.
You could say that. Compared to the Swedes and the Norwegians, we have a shorter life expectancy. We do eat more unhealthy.
But type 2 diabetes and fire hazards aren't what Danes are known for. They're known for happiness. Denmark consistently places first in the UN's World Happiness Report, an international poll where citizens are asked to self-evaluate on their well-being. The US, for all our life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, has never cracked the top 10.
So what does America have to learn from Denmark in terms of happiness and Hygge?
I think in many ways, Denmark is what the US would look like if Bernie Sanders was president. I think the most defining feature of Danish culture and life and politics is our democratic socialism, universal health care, equal opportunities for men and women, free university education, social security. At a certain point, additional income, it does not lead to improved quality of life.
Hygge's been huge all over Europe for a while, but it's zeitgeisting nicely stateside. With the help of Danish transplants like Klaus Meyer, a chef and restaurateur, Hygge is finding its place in America. Meyer has been living in the US for a year and a half and has Hygge over dinner every night with his wife Christina, an interior designer, and their daughters.
So what about this is Hygge versus just like any other family just eating a meal?
We actually have made an active decision not to be on the phone, that we are together, and that everybody is included in the conversation.
And I've been to other families where they just don't even eat together, but maybe the parents are doing something else, where they're like on their phones or computers, and they don't really talk to each other. And I can really feel the difference in the atmosphere.
While Meyer does impart some Danish culture to his staff, offering paid maternity and paternity leave, he doesn't think Denmark runs a monopoly on Hygge. It's that naming it and recognizing it gives it power.
Do you fear that, doing Hygge will fade the more time you spend here?
It could probably in many, many years, but it's one element of life. And I truly believe that many people find that moment, they call it something else. It's a moment of groundedness and where you're close to other people and listen with your heart and see people with your heart. And even though we're more conscious about it, I can't imagine that it doesn't exist somewhere else.
The poet Mary Oliver has written deeply about the benefits of close attention to moments in our lives and seasons and surroundings. In Morning Poem, she writes, "Every morning the world is created. Under the orange sticks of the sun, the heaped ashes of the night turn into leaves again and fasten themselves to the high branches, and the ponds appear like black cloth on which are painted islands of summer lilies. If it is your nature to be happy, you will swim away along the soft trails for hours, your imagination alighting everywhere, and if your spirit carries within it the thorn that is heavier than lead, if it's all you can do to keep on trudging, there is still, somewhere deep within you, a beast shouting that the earth is exactly what it wanted. Each pond with its blazing lilies is a prayer heard and answered lavishly every morning. Whether or not you have ever dared to be happy, whether or not you have ever dared to pray."
Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Please swallow your pride if I have things you need to borrow, for no one can fill those of your needs that you won't let show. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. If there is a load you have to bear that you can't carry, I'm right up the road. I'll share your load if you just call me. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. You just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you understand. We all need somebody to lean on.
The Danish term hygge refers to coziness and conviviality that engender feelings of contentment or well-being. There is much that is universal about this cluster of emotions, and much that can be healing and relaxing. By paying attention, centering awareness, physically relaxing, accepting pain and distress, one may be able to find spiritual resources. It may well be that our teachers, poets, guides, and mentors have the most to say and teach about the lessons of pain and grief, but also the life-saving presence of what we all find beloved. The poet Gregory Orr suffered through his father's alcoholism and his own guilt and grief about his accidental fatal shooting of his younger brother in a hunting accident. His writing took a powerful spiritual turn when he wrote a poetry collection entitled Concerning the Book That Is the Body of the Beloved, with follow-up collections in a similar vein. Early in the book of poetry, he writes of opening the book of the beloved. When I open the book, I hear the poets whisper and weep, laugh and lament. In 1,000 languages, they say the same thing. We lived. The secret of life is love, which casts its wing over all suffering, which takes in its arms the hurt child, which rises green from the fallen seed. Each of us has our connections with the beloved, the family, the friends, the pets, the sacred lake, the poem or song or story that encourages and absorbs us, the special warmth of calm connection and harmonious thoughts. Lyrics and poetry that stay connected via invisible hugs and dances. Finding what is timeless and treasured just when we need it. Practicing being grounded by sight, by feeling, by hearing, by smelling, by tasting. All these may comfort, may create the memories that may perhaps be timeless and held closest the longest. Campfires and fireplaces and pine trees and wind and waves. Perhaps using some relaxation skills will release the bondage of the moment and allow one to feel better the gift of deeper relaxation. So now, please take 2 deep breaths held in for a few seconds while you sit upright with closed eyes. Now curl your fingers, both hands, to touch palms in a gentle fist. Hold that and then release it, and then repeat only half as strongly, clenching that fist. And then relax it. And then clench your fists again, but again, now only half as hard as the last time, barely tightening them, and then releasing completely that energy in your hands. Now shrugging your shoulders in the same fashion. Rise them up, maybe an inch or 2, hold it, let it go. Then half as much, hold it, let it go. Then just half as much. Notice that small but evident effort, and then let it go. Now gently draw your teeth together and wrinkle your forehead. Now release it and then do it just half as strongly. Release it. Now do it just half as strongly. Notice that you can still perceive that gentle clenching of your teeth, a gentle wrinkling of your forehead. Now let it go. Again, please take 2 deep breaths and a stretch to complete. Then imagine briefly and vividly a favorite place in nature or family, and go there in your mind and your senses. Poet Gregory Orr has found poetry to be the repository of all that is valuable and beloved, along with the songs of sorrow and departure. Poetry and song and worship have likely been with us people and tribes for thousands of years, and likely thousands more. As I learned of what he had been through, I appreciate his poetry and how it moves toward healing and release, as it looks for the movements and dances of harmony and survival in a world sometimes welcoming, but also balanced between joy and pain. One of his most personal poems reaches me the most. Now the snow is falling, even more than an hour ago. The pine in the backyard bows with the weight of it. 2 years ago, my father died. What love we had, hidden under misery, weighed down with years of silence. And now, maybe the poem can release us. Maybe the poem can express the love and let the rest slide to earth as the snow does now, freeing the tree of its burden. And may you lift your limbs ever higher in this season of stars, wind, and celebration. May you be released of your burden and find the presence of loving silence and long peaceful nights that will yield to spring via coziness and community. May it be so.
In my family, the late November and December holidays not only include the chaos of Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year with a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, they also include 3 birthdays, my own, my husband's, and my older son's. And so after all of that hubbub, I am ready for a break. I adore putting up all the holiday decorations at the end of November, and then come January, I adore taking them all back down. The world that I create for myself in January, as much as I am able, feels like the world after a heavy snow, crisp and clean and muffled quiet, not so filled with noise and celebration as the month before. This Scandinavian concept of hygge is one that I can embrace. The idea embodies the 3 C's of coziness, comfort, and community. And when the world feels stressful, exhausting, cold, and harsh, those 3 C's are exactly what we need. I loved the video that we saw earlier because it touches on the fact that hygge is not that healthy. This is not a self-help strategy or what popular culture likes to call self-care. The problem with self-care, and hygge acknowledges this, is that it can be temporarily helpful and enjoyable, but it doesn't address the root causes of societal and collective harm. Sure, it's easier to relish candlelight, warm drinks, and delicious food when your country has universal health care and other social safety nets. So I don't want the takeaway from today's service to be soft blankets and warm drinks can solve all of our issues. That's certainly not the case. But soft blankets and warm drinks and friends and company and other elements of hygge can provide moments of comfort and grounding and spiritual space for calm and self-reflection. In late November, we heard a service by the Reverend Denise on what she calls pathetic spiritual practice. This is, in her conception, engaging in spiritual practices that don't have to be perfect. They can be pathetic. They don't have to take a ton of time. They just need to be done, and done with intention and repetition in order to gain the benefit of a spiritual practice. The practices that I think of when I think of coziness are those that involve mindfulness or awareness of the present moment. Stress, especially trauma, can pull our awareness to the past in a form of rumination or to the future in a form of anxiety. And our society has been experiencing what scientists call a collective trauma through the pandemic of the last almost 2 years. It's important that we focus ourselves over and over, even in small moments throughout the day, on the present moment, right now, to the life that we have, rather than the one from yesterday or tomorrow. If you have your cozy accoutrements, I encourage you to join me in a grounding practice that is often used in trauma work, but it can be helpful for anyone who needs a moment of mindfulness. It's called the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 practice. It utilizes all of our senses. So we're going to focus on and name first 5 things that we can see, then 4 things that we can feel, 3 things we can hear, 2 things we can smell, and finally 1 thing we can taste. So join me. Please follow along. I'll do it out loud as a model, but then I will allow some space and time for you to do it in your own space with whatever it is that you perceive. 5 things I can see. Tree outside the window. Chair. My chalice. Table. The computer. Now you try. Now 4 things I can feel. My warm cup. The scratchy pine cone. My blanket. And my hair. You try. Now, 3 things we can hear. I hear the fire, the clock ticking, and this wrapper on this chocolate is crinkly. Your turn. Now, 2 things I can smell. The dryer sheets that were used for this blanket. And this chocolate. It smells good. And finally, 1 thing that I can taste. My tea. Noticing each of these things and allowing ourselves to know that we're noticing them is the key to making it a spiritual practice. This simple practice not only brings us back to the present moment, but it can also heighten our gratitude for what we have, our bodies, our senses, and our surroundings, be it clothing or a blanket or a fire, some cocoa or something else. As we settle into the new year, 2022, may your own spiritual practices help to ground and comfort you. May it be so, and amen.
For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift, which we are called to use, to build the common good, and make our own days glad. For needs which others serve, services we give, for work and its reward, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful hours that pass, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift, which we are called to use, to build a common good, and make our own days glad.
Part of our commitment to each other is to bring our life transitions, our happy moments, and our low times to this time together so that our joys might be amplified and our sorrows comforted. We will put those joys and concerns that our members and friends have asked us to share with the fellowship in the chat box, and they will also be in the weekly Joys and Concerns email. If you do not receive that email, please let us know if you would like to. You're also invited to type into the chat box any joys or concerns that you would like to share with the gathered community. For care and connection during the week, please reach out to Minister Allie or contact our office. If you would like to have your joy or concern included in our weekly care email or shared during a Sunday service, you can call or contact anyone on staff or fill out the form on our website. We place a stone in our chalice now as a symbol of our witness to the joys and concerns that have been shared in this space and those that are still held in the silence of your hearts. And we will hold them for the week to come. Amen.
Our time together is coming to a close, which means our time to return to the world and our daily lives is beginning. Please remember there are always ways to get more connected here, both in person and online, and to live our faith more fully. Please be sure to read the Weekly Scroll email newsletter or let us know if you don't receive it. Check out the back of your order of service for some highlights of events coming up. Now, as we prepare to leave this gathering, we invite you to think about what you want to take home with you. What lesson, idea, or theme you will carry with you from this time together back to your daily life. And as you hold that in your heart, our hope is that it will serve as inspiration and empowerment for your week ahead. Now, please join us for our unison words for extinguishing our chalice flame.
As we extinguish this flame, let us go our ways, with hope in our hearts, with our spirits renewed, and with a deeper understanding of life's mystery. Let us carry the light of compassion and commitment to build a better world.
After these closing words, we will hear a postlude song. We invite those of you who want to stay on Zoom for a time of sharing and conversation for 15 minutes in small breakout rooms like we did last year. One of the groups will be for newcomers, led by me. One of the groups will be a discussion of service themes with Reverend Christina, and another will also focus on the themes of the service, led by our worship leader, Mark Marnaka. Finally, there will be a group for unmoderated, informal chit-chat. Everyone else is welcome to use that postlude song time to log off. Go in warmth, coziness, and connection. Go in peace, knowing we wait to embrace you upon your return.
Life's music and its poetry surround and bless us through our days. For those we sing in harmony, together giving thanks and praise. And we believe in